Yes, guys, welcome back to the Cannon podcast and welcome back to the first instant reaction of the new Premier League campaign. Arsenal 2, Wolves 0 at the Emirates in the sunshine. Not the perfect performance, not the barnstorming start maybe some people were expecting, but a win is a win. Lots to unpack, lots to get through, lots of positives to take from that game. George, I'm pretty happy.
Look, start of the season, all you can hope for is clean sheet, 3 points, and
No injuries.
no injuries. I thought there were periods of really bright play, and then there was periods where we definitely gave Wolves more territory than I think we would have liked on a long term. Was this, Arsenal 28 games in? No, it was Arsenal first game of the season. There was a lot of really good play. I felt like we accessed the middle of the park really, really well, especially in the first half. And then things sort of tailed off. I felt like Odegaard lost his influence. The team lost his influence. And I think that Wolves had a pretty dominant set of about 15 to 20 minutes. I don't have the stats up, but probably in the second half, that was my first gut feeling. And I think that we got back control with the subs, to be honest with you. And so from that perspective, there was a lot of really good things. Man, Bukayo Saka, it is going to be his season. Dear God, that boy looks scary. I remember I was having chats with people and people were like, I'm worried. Should we start Bukayo Saka? Should we not? I go, no. This is our best player, bar none. Yeah. And he just
and if Mikel really manages his minutes, George, oh my goodness me. We're in for a stormer.
Yeah, and look, I just think that there were some sloppy moments from uncharacteristic players today. I mean, I thought that Saliba, I love the boy, everybody knows that, but he was just quite sloppy, telegraphed his passes quite a bit. I thought Gabriel in moments in possession was sloppy. There was something weird with the pivot for me that I felt like Partey was sloppy as well, but also he was the deepest anchor, whereas in our previous 2 games, Zinchenko was. So the role was switched. And I have a feeling that has to do with kind of the Wolves press a little bit more because they have a little bit more jumpy interiors in terms of the 2 Gomez's. And Wang is also pretty industrious forward. So I think maybe Mikel's thinking was, look, Zinchenko, can he turn out of trouble against the press in those deep moments? But I didn't think it worked. And I think it actually made both players unsure of their role, where there was moments that, Zinchenko dallied on the ball. I didn't think that he had his best, most incisive game compared to previously when it was a very big opposite. And I thought Partey looked sloppy in possession in moments. But generally speaking, I thought the boys did really well. I really did. I thought that in the first half, I loved the way that we varied our attempt to go through the lines. And that's what I've been seeing all preseason. I didn't see that let up. So I was very, very happy. And again, I thought, Mikel managed the game quite well. In a period where we were losing dominance and I was calling for a change, I saw the change I wanted in terms of Yuri and Timber. My God, how special does he look back? I mean, look, there was a little bit of overconfidence in terms of some of the dribble, but that boy is something else. And we had everything. We had a little bit of choking, a little bit of competing.
Yeah. Alejandro Tavercio came with the super chat. Thank you so much. That Wolves players are free. He was choking Havertz. He was going up Jesus's where. Christ. We'll maybe come to that incident a little bit later on. We'll look at some overall thoughts, and we'll come to some incidents and players and stuff. Thank you guys so much for being here. We love doing these instant reactions. It's good fun. George, classic. I agree with most of what you said there. I think I think what it is in the build-up is it's like, is variety a strength or a weakness? And I guess it always depends on how you do in the end. I think basically, if we'd lost this game, I'd have been looking back at the first half and saying, Odegaard's dropping in, then he isn't. Zinchenko's staying wide, then he isn't. Partey's on the sort of slant, then he isn't. He's dropping in. Then there was a lot of sort of changes in variety in how we built up. You could look at that as, Arsenal haven't got any rhythm, or Arsenal finding different ways through Wolves. It's basically dependent. It's always dependent on the result, isn't it? So I think there was a little bit of sloppiness in the build-up, and I agree in terms of some moments there. I will say though, in the final third, I thought it looked really good. Like in terms of the patterns and the dynamics, the things, all the ideas. I think that's what you have to look at in the final third. You can't expect every single action to come off every single time unless you're Bukayo Saka. Like what I'm seeing is Havertz coming short, then going in behind, stretching the line. I'm seeing Martinelli timing his runs really well. I'm seeing Rice arriving at the right time. Martin Odegaard, man, what a day. He looked, especially in the first half, he looked unbelievable today in terms of, he was sort of drifting over into the left half space. He was, again, depends on the strength or weakness argument of it, but dropping deep and sort of helping it. He looked absolutely everywhere. I think the sort of all phase, all action midfielder is really, really coming out of Martin Odegaard. Yeah, it was an interesting performance because I think like, if now we're sat here and saying it wasn't maybe the best we could have done, but maybe we shouldn't have expected that. I think it's hard to know exactly what to expect, on day one, and we are going to take a little bit of time. I do want to come to the individual performances in just a moment, but the last thing I will say is I want to credit Wolves. I thought Wolves did really, really well, and this is the thing. I saw a screenshot of the Brighton team the other day, and I was like, this is the Super League. That team's going to come like 12th, and that would win the Eredivisie. That would probably win, get top 4, top 3 in the French league. And they're going to come 11th or 12th. It's crazy, the quality in this league. So we should be beating Wolves. We should be beating Fulham. I agree, but they're not easy games. There's a difference. There's a difference between things being, yes, we should have won this game, but the expectation of it being an easy game, I don't buy anymore. They don't exist. I know it's a cliche, but they don't exist. So credit to Wolves.
Crazy, because you look at this Wolves team who've lost Kilman and Neto. Two of their best players from last year. And I mean, they looked really well close. I like Martin O'Neill. I do. I thought that what they did really well was that they, Gary O'Neill.
Just to save you the comments.
I'm not escaping the allegations, but Gary, he coaches them really well. And I thought that they're a very energetic team, and a couple players that we haven't spoke about. I thought David Raya was some really crucial saves. I mean, when you're in a game like this and you're not tested, that shows your concentration level. There were 2 moments that he's really saved us. One in the first half, of course, with that header from that Norwegian striker that I'm not even going to attempt. I think it was Larson,
maybe, yeah.
That was a brilliant save. That was probably my favorite save of the match. And
really nice.
he was really dominant, Raya, in terms of just his focus. I thought the back line was uncharacteristically sloppy. And he was like, what are you doing? Like, can you please get your head together, get your head right? Let's make some clear decisions. And I just thought we needed that. We needed that strong voice at the back. He did it brilliantly. I thought Kai Havertz had a really good game. Got his goal and his assist. I'm not too sure how much the output was him necessarily. I think that was a little bit of other players, but his all-around play was incredible in this match. I thought that was what was giving me excitement, because he was really a constant outlet and really strong under pressure. And the confidence he showed in the carry is something that he's taking from last season, but it's aggressive, it's purposeful, and it's with intent. When I saw him picking up pockets on the right half space, I thought, oh, you could do something here. Whereas last year I felt like it was hesitant. It was, okay, I'm going to carry it because I have to.
Do you remember that game? I think it was PSV at home in the Champions League. He's basically through and he cuts back over on the right-hand side. And he was almost in the exact same position again today, and he did the opposite. And he was also taking men on, which is another part of his game. And again, also the goal itself is, another part of this game that we haven't necessarily seen in terms of being that aerial threat consistently. And, I'd love to see that sort of grow across the season. But, taking his man on, I think is really, really exciting. George, we've got the stats. Have a guess. Did we win on field tilt?
I don't know, because of that Wolves dominant possession, but we should have from the first half. I'd say just slightly.
We'll see Morris saying you look good today. So it's your lucky day, baby. We did win on field tilt. Of course we did. Let's have a look through this. So we just take that off the screen. So Arsenal, with 2 goals to 0, 1.4 expected goals to 0.7. This is all courtesy of Scott J. Willis on X. I don't think I've ever told Scott. I'm sure Scott knows he's involved in this, but he's a big part of these interactions. 33 progressive passes to 11, which I think comes to your point about the sort of accessing the middle centrally. I did feel at one point, especially because Wolves had that 3, and it felt like we were trying to use the wide areas sort of in behind. I would have quite liked a carrier, and I wonder if maybe if this game was in the middle of the season, we'd seen a bit more Timber, we'd seen a bit more Calafiori, whether one of them would have started against this Wolves press. I'd be interested to see that. 24 successful dribbles to their 16. Numbers looking pretty good. PPDA down at 7.6 to 30.8. And again, as always, we looked unbelievable out of possession. There's the running XG just in there. But George, the most important thing, we won on field tilt, lads. We won on field tilt. What's funny, though, is that shape of the game, I didn't, just on a first watch, I didn't feel. I felt we struggled a little bit here. And towards the end of the first half was when we were really getting at them. I think this is kind of making sense in terms of maybe in the second half. But the first half, I felt we hadn't quite got going, we hadn't quite found our rhythm, but that could be based on the sort of that you want first game of the season, you want to come out the blocks absolutely firing. And maybe my lesson from today is like, it's not going to happen. We're going to build into this season a little bit.
I mean, I thought the first half was really strong, to be honest with you. I thought, I think that field tilt moment is basically that point where Wolves had that kind of header on target
Yeah.
in the first half. That's about it. I mean, from the first half, I was very excited. I thought we were brilliant. And then the second half, I think it told a story quite effectively here. There was 15 to 20 minutes, basically to the 75th minute, when I felt like Wolves had a really dominant spell of possession. And, I think also one thing that we haven't really talked about was maybe Declan Rice's role today.
Well,
Very low
let's
touch.
come to in individuals in just a second, because I want to talk sort of
Yeah,
every individual.
I was just gonna say, in the period though when we are losing territory, one thing that I'd like for Mikel to do a little bit better is to recognize that and put our dominant defensive players central. So where I was going with it is, I thought he had a brilliant game individually. We'll get to the individual points, and he did end up going off with cramps, so he definitely was tired. But I think generally, I'd like him to switch the shape when we are sacrificing territory.
I hear that.
And, I think he kind of had that idea with Yuri and Timber coming on, right? But I think instead of going maybe 1-and-1 on a slant in the pivot, I'd like us to go true double pivot in a moment
I hear
where
that.
our territory isn't great. And then maybe add Trossard a little bit earlier in terms of having a little bit more retention. I thought Jesus was an okay sub to make, but I thought Kai looked fine. I didn't think,
Jesse's doing that flick pass.
yeah, it's
Come
not
on,
great.
mate.
It's not great in the moment, right? But in the end, I feel like he wants to try to maybe add some personality. He's got to
No, I
do
get it.
something,
I don't
but
look.
I don't
It'll look good on YouTube, mate. But come on, like it's I appreciate. Like, it's a Premier League game, and it is only 2-0.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree with your point about Trossard as well in terms of the ball retention. Also on that point about putting him more central in a proper true pivot. I would love to have seen Rice carry a little bit more. I think there possibly could have been a fitness issue. I think we saw him cramping up and stuff.
Yeah.
But by the way, if we're gonna manage Saka and Rice's minutes, actually this season, that is an exciting thing. Rohan's mate thinks he has the training staff on. Bro thinks he's the staff. I absolutely do. Let's move forward to the individual performances then, because I think that's exciting. We'll come to all your questions and so on at the end. So just hang fire. We'll come to those. Thanks you guys so much for being here. 1,200 of you watching live, which is amazing. So yes, let's go to, we spoke about him a little bit before, David Wright, who I thought, I completely agree with you. It was looking like the stable sort of info. Oh, sorry, one more thing I wanted to mention. I think we continue to see those crosses to the back post.
Yeah.
I think this is something we're going to see consistently through the season, a little bit more variation from both Saka and Martinelli, and actually just from the half spaces. There's those crosses to the back post, which we've been seeing in pre-season. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Such a nerd. But yeah, the Raya thing. I think he really looked really calm. I think his restarts were really nice. I think I said this in a different not video a while ago. Plug. I think because of what happened last season with Ramsdale, Raya maybe that initial wow was never quite there. We got there perception wise by the end of, we can now see what Raya's done, but it took him a big sample size.
It took him 4 months.
It took him a while. Yeah, right. And I think from an external perspective, Raya having moments like that is going to be really useful. Arsenal fans know Raya's brilliant, right? But from a Liverpool fan watching on Match of the Day or a Newcastle fan watching it, on a highlights reel or whatever, those moments we know they do matter. Watching Alisson one-on-one, because I don't watch every single Liverpool game. When I see that clip come out, I go, bloody hell, he's good. So I'm not pleased that we conceded the chance, but for Raya's reputation, I think we are going to see over the course of the season, it's going to catch up a little bit. I think he was brilliant today.
Yeah, he was just really authoritative, and I thought, look, he did all the Raya stuff, but I enjoyed how he seemed to take a little bit more of a leadership role from people that we would associate a little bit more with leadership in our build-up that were struggling, and what I enjoyed is when somebody maybe is having an off day, we've got enough leaders back there to step up that the entire buildup doesn't falter because we've got somebody with confidence there. And I do think that, when you've got kind of William Saliba, who was a little bit shaky in terms of some of his passing, it needed maybe that authority from behind to calm, stay, maybe not rush your passes. I still felt like there was a level of telegraphing that was involved with our center backs. And really, when we kind of looked okay is when Zinchenko or Partey or Raya took the reins and dropped into the back line. Those two, we know how great they are, but they just really struggled in possession today, and they took over our buildup. So, and Raya was a big part of that. He was definitely the one coaching the entire back line about when to step, when to go, and you could just see him organizing his back line, which is brilliant to see. So, from that perspective, 8, 9, and 10.
It was really brilliant. Saliba today became the fastest Arsenal player ever, and that's including the Henri Vieira Bergkamp era, like ever, above Nacho Monreal, to get to 50 league wins for Arsenal. I think it's in 66 games he got to 50 league wins, which is absolutely crazy. But it's funny because today probably wasn't his best performance. We probably discussed there's not loads on that bone. Ben White, I don't have loads to say on him. I think he just looked really stable, really solid. I think what I was excited by, which is maybe isn't about Ben White, Timber on the overlap on that little moment looked rapid. Did you see just right at the end? He looked really good. I know we haven't seen him in that position a lot, but I was encouraged by this one moment, and I'm probably over analyzing it. But he looked really sort of sharp and light-footed in the way that Ben White does.
He's just a really quick on the fast in the first 5 yards. Yeah, I mean, I thought Ben looked really good, actually. I thought in terms of his defensive work, it was actually really, really good. There was a couple of moments I felt like 1v1 out wide, he did get a little bit done. But generally speaking, his anticipation to his marker was really top. And we'll get to it in the front three, but the front three's press was suffocating. In general, I don't have the stats, but somebody look up how many times they've won the ball back in terms of those front three: Martinelli, Saka, Havertz, Odegaard. I guarantee you was over 5 times throughout the match, and they've collectively won ball. And I think it comes because our fullbacks are really aggressive, and particularly Ben. We really squeezed down that right-hand side, so he was good. Ironically, I felt like Saliba was actually very good out of possession. So when they were firing balls between the lines, Saliba looked strong in terms of cutting out chances and cutting out the in from Wang Chan. I think. Otherwise, though, like in possession, we talked about how much he struggled, and I thought Gabriel similarly. He at times struggled in possession, but the two were really good out of possession, which was good to see.
Yeah.
And I think we just look at Zinchenko, and look, he did okay in the first half, but I really felt like he tailed off, and there were moments when he kept holding on to the ball a little bit too long. So I feel like when he gets in those moments, there's got to be somebody to tell him, listen, mate, like, you got to get rid of it, like if you're having trouble in terms of how you're receiving, or you're not finding people, just keep it simple. You don't have to really do something that's excessively elaborate, but at the same time, that's not him. So I guess like you struggle, right? I think when he gets to that point, you just have to have an effective sub change, which is what Mikel did. So
yeah. I think if Timber was available and fully fit and had a run of games, I think he would have started, to be honest. I don't see this as the game for Zinchenko. It's not where you get the absolute best out of him. He was having to stay wide quite a lot, and then a couple of moments he gets isolated at the top and your bums go and you're like, oh, no. Thomas Partey. Really interesting one, this. Might spend a little bit of time on this. Look, we're signing a midfielder, and there's a reason. So let's work out what that reason is, right? And I think Thomas Partey, I'm looking at him, and I don't know what it is, and I'm open to sort of what you guys think and what you think, obviously, George. It could be the physical thing. I wonder if that's part of it. I think it is part of it. How much of it, I don't know. I just feel like he's way more willing these days to take the foul, or take the easy route out, or go back. Or there was a moment where he came forward, and I don't know whether he trusts his body with those long strides to really step forward and step out of midfield at times. I don't know what's up with it. He was losing a lot of duels. And at some point, he starts to look like someone who ultimately was a brilliant player. At what point do we start saying, where does the decline come with Thomas Partey? And I think, all those injuries will have had an effect on him. He lost a lot of duels in the middle today for me. 3, 4, 5, maybe I can remember. I'm sure there were more that I missed as well. I just didn't think he looked particularly good. Obviously, Thomas Partey is brilliant. He has some great moments. He always has some brilliant passes. There was a nice moment he reverse passed and sort of found Odegaard, I think, in the pocket at one point in the second half. There's always going to be brilliant moments from Thomas Partey. So if you cherry pick stuff from him, you can form a brilliant idea of what Partey is. But overall, is this the level we have seen and know that Thomas Partey has? I don't think he is. I think he's wanting someone to foul him so he can stop and reset. He's not wanting to accelerate the game in the same way. So I don't know, but I wonder how you feel.
I think part of the problem is because he's been making very basic mistakes that it overclouds what he's done across the 45 minutes. So let's take the first half, for example. I think if you were going to go back on rewatch, I think he did a pretty good job in possession, but there were 2 or 3 moments that a player of Thomas Partey's quality should never be put into. He's making very basic errors, and the turnovers are quite bad. And so those moments for me stick out in terms of when people talk about him being leggy and whatnot, which I'm not too sure that it was. It was incredibly sloppy moments, but 3 or 4 on the whole, I thought Partey received on the half turn and got us going quite well. The problem was for me, I think he is no longer somebody that can lone anchor an entire team
Yeah, and he was
and
asked
run
for
for two
points.
people. That I think I agree with. But also at the same time, like that's an elite skill that I don't think he ever should have been expected to do. So it's tough. Like he's making up for parts of the team that I think we lost maybe our central compactness in, and that's more of an issue for me. Look, we've got to adjust in terms of his physical demands. I don't know if I see him drastically leggy. I mean, I think he looks a lot better than he's looked all of last season. So from that perspective, it's an improvement. But
But is
I
he
don't
back
think
to the level? This is it's like
he's not going to be elite. Like I said, I don't think
mm,
that he will be able to lone anchor a midfield with 2 8s ahead of him and him defending space where there's only him, Saliba, and
mm,
Gabriel. Like if you're
mm,
asking for us to defend with a back two, like we did in 22-23, then no, like I don't think Partey's there. But if you're asking me, is Thomas Partey making better decisions with the ball? Do I think he's looked a little bit more authoritative in his last couple of appearances? For sure. But there's moments, right? Like that first ball in the second half when he's turns it over, it's child ground error, and people are like, "Oh my god, he's crap, he's shit." And then the next 10 minutes, he proceeds to really make a really great chance for Saka when he goes on the half turn. He actually gets Saka going. So I mean, that's what it is for me. I think there are big playground, school ground errors that have burned into people's mind, and then they start to say, "Okay, have other things been lost?"
mm,
Because a player of your quality should never have been making that mistake.
mm.
So, yeah,
Is it more
that's been the thing.
concentration thing then?
Uh, Honestly, overconfidence. I think
Mm.
like there was a level of that in the entire 11 because, mate, there's no way that you can convince me that Thomas Partey had any more errors than Saliba did that game,
No, I
especially
agree.
if you're
I
being
agree.
fair. So then, and we're not going on Saliba about losing concentration, making any of those points because we know what the level is. So, yeah, again, I think part of it is overconfidence for me in terms of him, and to a level, I think people expect, look, you're the experienced head, right? So
Mhm.
I mean, I just don't know if you're going to go on rewatch, you're going to say Thomas Partey was poor.
Yeah.
I think he had poor moments, but generally across the game, he was actually quite good in possession. Was my gut feeling right now. I just think the upper end of his physicality. Again, you ask him to go and defend lone anchor with 2 8s up top in a scenario we don't want to see. By the way, we don't want to see. Can he do that? No, Declan can. But yeah, I just think there's a little bit about expectations here.
Yep. Wayne, thanks for your super chat. We'll come to it in just a second. I thought, as we said earlier, Odegaard was terrific today. I think he was
Yeah.
absolutely everywhere. I really like this sort of freer ability to head out onto the left-hand side. I think Thomas Partey cheating to the right, Kai Havertz, and that sort of balance coming over to the right-hand side is really working for that. I really like that in the final third. Declan Rice, I don't think he was maximised today. That looks to me more like a physical thing than me. He was great out of possession. He didn't do anything wrong, but I don't think we saw Declan Rice's top level. But I'm not expecting to see that day one, to be honest.
I don't know if you feel this way, but I think Declan Rice starts slow, not from a period of motivation, but even if you go back from West Ham, Declan Rice is a player that for me takes a while to get going.
Mm.
And get going, by the way, is his freak out of possession ability.
Yeah.
And I think that this was just Mikel's giving him a little mini preseason. I think in terms of playing him in this role, and we feel comfortable that we're able to have Jorginho Partey in his ideal world. The reason Marino is coming in is so that Marino can play ahead of him, and Declan can really be that lone anchor six, and together they can kind of mismatch each other with the running, but also some of the build-up progression responsibilities. So, but yeah, no, I thought he was brilliant. And actually, just really quickly, because I am a nerd like you, there were some really cute moments in the pockets when he is receiving it, and I think he's made some brilliant runs. There was that one moment he got really pissed at Martinelli, rightly so. He gives a great wall pass out to Martinelli, who checks back and head down, takes a shot, but Declan's in space.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he was annoyed.
Yeah, he was really smart in terms of how he was playing the pocket role today, which was really nice to see.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, people saying Rice can't play six in the chat. He can play six. It's just a different style, and this is a whole conversation, but we don't have time for today. Yeah, and then just the front three. I think Kai Havertz, again, we discussed him a little bit in terms of the confidence and what he's showing. His all-round play was terrific. It's the attitude and the swagger as well. You can see even in the celebration, there was a bit of sort of, yeah, I've got this now. Saka,
That needs to be said more because I don't think Bukayo Saka gets the praise that he deserves. That boy is so good.
He's
And you know,
22.
mate, I just don't understand why he doesn't get the praise. Like, this is our superstar. This is his team. Everything was flowing through him, and he looked sharp. I mean, like, I don't know about you, but he was our most dangerous player. And you know what? I have this theory. Again, I'd love somebody to back me up on stats. This is just my gut feeling. Every time Bukayo Saka is 1v1 in transition, it's 3/4 a goal or assist
Yep.
guaranteed.
Yep. Something happens. Something
Something
happens.
happens. And yeah, no, I do think it's going to come across as hate, but I feel like people look at Martin Odegaard and the aesthetic of what he does and they praise it. And you look at the actual impact. Saka was running the show, mate. And those back post crosses, the delivery from Saka, which by the way, I don't think is one of his strong suits, was brilliant today. If Saka can download a crossing delivery package amongst already having all of the brilliant thing that he does, including the times that he's been attacking the back post lately, I mean, Saka could have had another goal from a Martinelli cross if he was a little bit better with his aerial ability. You know, it goes over Kai Havertz, and you know he has just an ability to maybe be a little bit more dominant on the aerial parts. But yeah, mate, Bukayo Saka, his arrogance and his willingness to shoot that goal. What I love is the willingness to shoot. Not that he doesn't have it. Yeah. Oh my god, I love that. It's brilliant.
Mate, I'm man enough to admit. So when he was about to cross the ball in for Saka, so for Kai Havertz, this I love. Because this is the stuff, by the way, that we last season we sat on instant reactions. We said that the next level for Bukayo Saka is to understand just how good he is. And I know it's a tiny little thing, but he's not when he do you remember when he used to score and he was like
tiny,
just coming out the academy and he was going like, yes, like buzzing. And now he's like, yeah, of course I did. Of course I got a GA. What are you expecting? I love it. And this is the next step for him. I really do think. So I was watching with my housemate, and he was sort of facing the fullback up, and I was going, take him on the outside, and I went no as he stepped back, and then he put the ball in. I was like, oh. But what that is me being an idiot, but also it's the decision making in the final third. He just knows what to do. I have the entire screen. I know exactly what I have a TV camera, and I'm able to go do that, right? And he has a better picture than me watching at home. Like it's crazy. It's like as in not me. Oh my god, I'm so as in everyone watching at home. We have that. We have the entire picture. He is in the pitch in the middle of the action, and he knows what to do every single time. It's so impressive.
What I loved, mate, is there was nothing doubtful about his shot. At times, I felt like last season in the final third, Bukayo seems to maybe doubt his finish. Not that he can't produce it, but doubt where he wants to put it. There's a little bit of indecision. And today, everything was so purposeful. There was even a really bright moment. I forget what minute, and he does a double Cruyff in the box. And
I remember. Yeah.
And I'm just thinking to myself, my God, your feet look so quick for somebody that's just come back from reaching the finals of the Euros. I don't understand. Like, I don't think we're understanding. Saliba was slow to start. Declan Rice was slow to start. Bukayo Saka looked the sharpest on the pitch, and the boy was just in a European final.
Bro, the final was on the 14th of July.
Like, I don't understand. He's not human. And yeah, mate, it's incredible. And he does not get the praise that he deserves for me. I am going to be on people. I'm telling you right now, for Bukayo Saka, major shouts this season. I think he's going to come up. And if he doesn't win player of the season, something's gone horribly wrong. He's either had an injury or something, knock on wood. This boy, he looked sharp, mate. He looked hungry. He looked arrogant. And that point that you're making, that it is maybe a small thing, it really isn't for me. I think this team believing that they're superstars is the reason that we win the title this year. And it has nothing to do with this performance. It has to do with that mentality, the mentality of it, expecting the output. There was a level of composure within the team and within him. And that, for me, is what's exciting. That's why I make the comparisons to the Bulls, to the Pistons, and all those fun, exciting things. But I love you, Bukayo, if you're watching.
Bukayo, if you are watching, I love you so much. Can you just feel it through the screen? We love you so much. Yeah. Let's finish on some of your questions and comments and so forth. I got a bit of time. We normally make these half an hour, but I'm happy to. Are you sort of in a rush? Are you right?
No, I got like 5-10.
Cool, amazing. So yeah, let's do as many comments and stuff as we can get to. So get them in the chat. What was I going to say? Also, that by the way, the Havertz finish. I know we haven't really discussed that. Really nice, really nice. So good.
Yeah, very good. Assured. I think in general he's somebody that he needs the confidence, mate. That's about it. And I think he's confident. He's found his voice in the team, and he's got the confidence of manager, club, and fans.
Mm-hmm. They're all watching the instant reaction in the Arsenal change room right now.
Never mind, Zinchenko watches 5 things. So I mean,
Zinchenko literally watches Bhavs, by the way. So like, there's not that's confirmed. Vlad, Martinelli thoughts? Yeah, I look. I think what happens with conversations, especially online conversations, is I think genuinely believe that Martinelli will be a top 10 attacker. Maybe I won't put a position on it in the world. Maybe even top 5. I think that's how good he is. He just has some things to work on. Does that mean he can't go on our team, get him out, get rid of him, we need a new left wing? Of course not. It's a different conversation. I think I'm still looking at the sort of decision making, but it was better than it was against Leon. He was stretching them. The defenders, you can see how scared they are when they come up against him. There was a couple of really nice moments where he feinted to go one way and then pulled in on the right. He had a shot that got deflected, but looked like it was on target. He had a really, really good match. I think sometimes, again, we always repeat this, but it's always worth saying, we are watching one of the greatest players in the history of Arsenal Football Club and the Premier League on the right-hand side.
Yeah,
that's what we're watching. We're not watching, decent guy. No, this is like one of the best players. And if he goes on and has the career that we expect him to have, one of the great Premier League players, Bukayo Saka. We can't then apply that to Martinelli and go, well, he's not doing that. It's not fair. It's not fair. We have to judge them in their own way. George has just reminded me we need to do the super chat. So thank you guys so much. Wayne Jenkins says, who do you think starts left back and at 6 next week? Thank you, Wayne, for your support. I think... So you
see a change. Yeah, I don't think we'll see a change in midfield. What we could see is Yuri and Timber, depending on fitness. I think that's the only potential change. I think people looking for Calafiori to start. I said it when he signed. I've said it in previous pods. Don't expect him till after the international break for me. This is a boy still learning. People get upset at that. This is a man still learning his the system. Right. And so he's in a new environment, new culture. I wouldn't expect within 4 weeks, we'll see a very Raya-esque introduction for Calafiori of last season. Yeah. So Raya didn't come in right away. That's what I think. In terms of the 6, depends on Mikel Merino's ability to adapt. But I think Mikel will want that as quick as possible. He will want that one to be a little bit more sooner than the back line, in my opinion.
Is that also, mate, like, I can't remember the last time, apart from Rice, but even Rice, he's flitting between 2 positions. When was the last time we had a player who was dropped in, no positional versatility, and played from the moment they got here?
Genuinely, maybe Trossard, but maybe even then, it wasn't even the start.
It doesn't happen these days.
It doesn't, and even then, it was cameoed. Trossard's always was the 11th man. So, yeah, Timber's a good shout. I mean, Timber did start pretty early, but genuinely speaking, I think after that, it's tough to say. Maybe Timber is actually the best shout.
Yep. I had something to say. Can't remember. And who do you think starts at 6?
No, I think it's Partey as well, because I don't see us have really enough time to change. If Merino had been training for another week or 2, you could maybe argue a new signing could come in. But also, I just don't feel like our next games are tough, mate. They're big teams, and he knows what he's getting.
Yep. I remember what I was going to say. Kivior not in the matchday squad. Do we read anything into that?
No, I actually think it's just we don't have enough players. I mean, in terms of look at the back line, right? Like you've got Timber, you've got Calafiore.
Tomiyasu's still not
available. There's gonna be some questions about like defensively, because we do have a lot of numbers. But I think it was purely about, do I put Calafiore or Kivior in? And you can't have the new signing not come in to the Emirates.
Of course, but I mean, if Tomiyasu's not even back, it's a numbers game here. Now, we could have an injury and so on, a different conversation. But if we're getting a loan option towards the end of this, I'm certainly interested. Do you know what I was thinking about today? Someone messaged me this. What about Palace for Kivior? Because if they lose Gehi, they might be losing Anderson, and they like those long switches. And I think Kivior can do that. He's obviously got Premier League experience. I think it could be a decent option for them. Don't know.
Yeah, it could work. I have a feeling with Inter, that story's not done for some
Yeah,
reason.
somewhere in Italy. Matthew, thank you so much for your super chat. From Canada, Kai and Saka, 30 goals and assists season loading. I've said 25 GA for Havertz. I think that's happening 100%. That might even be a little bit conservative. All comps. That might even be a little bit conservative. Saka, I don't know. I don't know how you feel. I don't like doing any predictions, and I don't want to do any until the window's over. I don't really like doing it because it does change so many dynamics. I think if we make a forward signing, there's a different conversation, and it depends what that is. But yeah, I think Saka. Look, what was he at last season? 34 GA.
Something. He cracked 30. He cracked 30.
Yeah, it was. He cracked 30, 100%. Let me just look that up. I think it was 34 GA or 36 GA. Because I remember.
I do think Saka.
I remember you tweeting about it.
I think Saka will set a personal record. I just think he goes to a new level this season. I don't know what it was, but whatever he did last season, he exceeds it, which is crazy. Mafia says 36. So yeah,
36. Yeah, I know you don't like Transfermarkt valuations. He's valued 140 million euros. Absolutely crazy. Alejandro, thank you so much for your super chat. What do you guys think about the start of the Prem overall? I mean, I haven't managed to watch any of the games apart from the United game.
Thoughts to go with Danilo. Apparently he had a horror injury. Just saw Twitter pictures about it. So maybe I'll just spare the thoughts there. But look, Brighton, what was it, 4-0 against Everton? Yeah, it's going to be a competitive season. I think we said in the last pod, I do think that I want to wait till the window's over before we go hard, but this could be the most competitive Premier League season that we've seen. And I think a lot of people will be taking points off each other. And I do think that it'll be a lower points total that wins the league ultimately this year.
This could be a really decisive Premier League season, and because with a lot of teams facing potential sanctions and stuff. By the way, we haven't discussed this on the pod, and I want to on Monday. The potential ramifications, even if City somehow get off, right?
We kind of talked about it.
Even if we did a little bit, but I want to do a proper discussion on it. Let's go super conservative. City adopt 30 points for what they've done. That's super conservative, by the way, in terms of what people are predicting. Football, Premier League execs are predicting 30 points in the middle, and that won't come in. But in terms of probably till the end of the season, I don't know how it'll work. But the impact on a title race could be huge. Could be absolutely huge.
There's a lot of stuff to talk about. I don't quite want to do it here, because it's like what happens to our legacy with that as well. Yeah. It's not all positive for Arsenal. It's definitely like a title, but it's like, is there people disingenuously marking that season despite having maybe received the point ban in April, which is when I think they will actually receive it. But by that point, I'm going to make a bold claim, bookmark it. I think that the league will have a much clearer picture on who's going to be the favorites.
And they are?
Arsenal. Yeah, I don't hide. Yeah, I don't hide.
Yeah. Bossman says, why did Calafiori not get a chance? I think it's just an easing in thing. I don't think it's anything particularly to read into.
We also won't see new signings potentially for me because of our difficult start. Again, I said it in a previous pod. I think the title could be won in the next 10 games purely because of the opponents that we face. It's our most difficult schedule. Everybody have a look at our next. We already had Wolves, which I thought was difficult, but our first 10 to 12 games of the season, I think they're our most difficult run of games across 38. So, I can't imagine seeing. Well, listen, who knows? Who knows what Mikel will do? But I can't imagine seeing anyone anytime soon. Maybe after the international break, that would make more sense to me. But if we just look at our fixtures, I don't think we'll see any real massive changes. We might see Timber coming in, but I don't think we'll see Calafiori and anything other than a cameo before the end of these two fixtures. And then you have the 2-week break. Maybe Calafiori comes in then if we've signed Marino, maybe signed someone else. Maybe that's the little break in there. But even then, derby, mate. That's a North London derby.
It's a North London derby, exactly. And then you go all the way to City. Maybe at this point you're starting to have a look. But yeah, this is, we're away at Villa next weekend. Christ, we're at home to Brighton, who are looking really good. We're away at Spurs. We're away at City. If you're expecting our 22, if you're expecting Victor Osimhen to jump in straight away, maybe he will, but got to sign him first. George, pleasure as always. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you guys so much for being here. Really appreciate it. We're here after every single Arsenal game. Bhavs is at a wedding, I think, so you couldn't join us today. Make sure you subscribe to the Cannon Podcast. We'll have a main pod out on Monday. George has got a special guest next week. No, I'm here next week. And then the week after, George is a special guest. So we're doing some scouting at some point next week. So look out for that on Patreon and YouTube members. Got loads of exclusive content and stuff on there. And you can get all the pods stuff ad-free on Patreon. You can get that on a 7-day free trial or as a YouTube member. Never forget the YouTube members.
Thank you guys for being here. It's honestly so humbling. I love doing these lives. We love you guys for being here. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. And we hope to see you guys along for the journey for this season.
The people want touch balls, but unfortunately it's not happening.
No.
George has vetoed it.
No.
Peace. Thanks for watching, and thanks for keeping it Arsenal.
Peace.